And we're live. Hello, everyone. To the people who have not joined yet. Okay. Oops.
All right. So Derma's. Do you want to open it?
Yeah.
Derma's. Oh, we got a large. So sensitive, cheese.
We're just going to give people a second to join. The regular spiel. This is the Glove Lab. We're very excited to have you here.
Sorry, we're getting our gloves. We got a bunch of gloves today.
Yeah.
All right. So these are the
Medium.
in orders. No, it's not.
Oh.
Numbers are hard.
It's in order.
Numbers are hard.
Okay, let me pull up the live so that I can look at the chat.
We got 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Get my coffee.
Okay.
Hey, what's that? What'd you look at?
Oh, I'm gonna pull this guy up too.
Oh, fit my shirt today. My lotion makes me sticky.
You're like one problem to another.
Sticky.
Yeah.
First is dry, then it's sticky.
Yeah. Alrighty. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Just pulling up this. I have my display.
How's everybody doing?
dims.
Oh, yeah. Do you have it in your little fancy bar?
My fancy bar doesn't work. I don't know. It's never worked, but it's okay. I could use this stuff.
I was gonna say because I got my F2 is my shortcut where I can make it better.
Yeah,
Which is,
I just have it up here, and sometimes it works. It's a whole thing. I know. I mean, what can I say? All right. Well,
1 minute.
1 minute. I was getting excited. All right.
How about you?
Un minuto. Oh yeah. Can we see
Our little display.
lovely display of gloves?
The fine tuff is like invisible. It's
Oh
hard
yeah,
to
the
see.
white.
It's hard to see that.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, we're at 10. So we're going to get started. As people trickle in, we will be able to answer questions like normal throughout the live stream and at the end. So feel free to drop any of those questions in the chat and follow along with us. We like it. Okay. So this week we are talking about our Delta Zero glove range. That is the whole focus of this live stream. We will be trying on some of the gloves. We will be telling you some use cases and just some more details about each of them, just because we have had some questions in the past. So,
So it's going to get nitty gritty about the actual glove
yes,
specs, if you will. And perhaps if you have any questions about what any of them mean.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, well, let's start off with who we are. I'm Sarah, and this is Ashley. We are in the marketing department for EcoProtect. We are the world's first B Corp certified glove supplier, which we're very proud of, which means we try to do things the better way, a little bit ethical, a little bit sustainable, just try to do good business for good reasons. And we're not, obviously we need to paycheck. It's nice to get paid, but we're not here to get rich. We want to make a difference, a positive influence in the world and that kind of thing. So part of how we're doing that is we're trying to change the glove industry, which sadly up to this point has had pretty lax standards and people making sure that things are, I don't know, kosher, doing it right.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say. So we developed Delta Zero. And that's kind of what we're going to dive in today. So this is something that you can only get from EcoProtect. And I feel like it's a big differentiator that kind of sets us apart. So hopefully you find it interesting. But if you have any questions about why it's different or things like that, like instead of us just telling you what it is, we would like you to understand the why. That's kind of the important part for us.
Yeah. And every time we do this live stream, we start
Yes.
with kind of a random question.
I love weirdo questions.
And today we have, would you rather eat in a restaurant or have takeaway?
Okay, so we usually take away because we're lazy and it's like, hey, let's just go get food.
Snaps to
But
that.
if I had to like all set aside even, I would like to be in a restaurant, I think, because then I'm not cooking and somebody brings me my food and it comes right from the kitchen and it's hot.
Yes.
And it doesn't touch a lot of things, and then it's on my ceramic plate. I'm a little weirded out with takeaway if the food gets a little bit cold.
Yeah.
Okay, weirded out for food safety, but then also like a little bummed because it's cold.
Yeah.
But then also they always put it in like those little plastic and styrofoam containers and stuff, and now it's all those like, oh, don't touch that. And it,
and you're like, I try so hard, and then we have the plastic.
And then there's the plastic containers.
Yeah.
So if I could bring my own little glass container, I think that would be fantastic. I really am trying to avoid chemicals.
Yeah, I think you're better than I am a little bit. I love a good takeout situation, but it does depend. Like if it's a fun night out, of course, I want to go out and have some food.
Yeah.
But if it's, I don't want to cook most of the time.
Yeah.
So
either way is a good option because you're not cooking.
I really try to prep most. And if I don't prep, then I have a really hard time motivating cooking.
That's understandable.
Yeah. Okay, so we would love to hear what you have to say to that question. I know it's goofy, but it's fun sometimes. But I love hearing the reasoning behind people's choices and everything like that. So comment and let us know. So we should get started. We do have a lot to go through today. And I think it'll be fun because we will be able to show you a lot. Again, we're talking about Delta Zero, what gloves we have. And Delta Zero, as we've mentioned, is our proprietary glove testing program. It's multi-layered, and it's a quality testing situation. So we test only a certain range of our gloves, and it's our nitrile gloves, and it's all independent labs. I know that was not the most smooth way of saying it, but Sarah, you can probably add.
No. Sorry, I got hair. It's distracting. Okay, so with our Delta Zero, it's a huge advance in glove safety, we feel. And this is because we've talked about it before, how when you buy a new box off the shelf, you can open it and they're already contaminated inside. So if the gloves are already contaminated inside the box, you're kind of starting at a deficit, if you will, when it comes to food safety, and it's not your fault on its own. It's the manufacturing process, and if there's dirty water being used and things like that. Research has shown this, and we do have a really, really thrilling about 80-page Journal of Food Protection paper.
Fabulous.
If you want to dive into the full research of everything they found. It was from phthalates to, well, of course, I'm on the chemicals and the heavy metals, and there was contamination, and there was microbial and fungal and a bunch of stuff where it was kind of alarming, where it's like there's so much going on where we just feel like more care needs to be taken. And so since research showed that, and now back to Delta Zero is kind of the solution to this. So we test our gloves on every container that we import when they get to the port here in the US. We'll send it off to independent labs, and then they perform the testing. The labs we send it to are the labs that have the equipment to do the testing needed. And then we lot test our gloves, and these independent labs do all the testing. And basically what we're doing is we're verifying that these gloves are safe enough to use with your food. They're truly food safe. And when you touch your food or product, whatever you're handling, or even patients, let's talk medical, you're not going to be contaminating them, or nothing from the gloves is going to be detrimental when it transfers to the product or person you're touching, because it could be people too.
Right. This is true.
Yes.
I did put the Journal of Food Protection link and our white paper link in the chat. So if anyone is curious and wants to know more, that is where we have a lot of our information.
I would recommend taking a dive into the white paper. It's like 4 pages long, and it kind of summarizes all of the journal. And then if you did want to look further into the journal, you know what parts you want to kind of look at a little bit deeper.
And that is going to one of our pages that does break the journal down even further, but you can get to the larger PDF as well.
Yes.
And so we call Delta Zero multi-layered because there are multiple tests that are done. And these fall into 4 different categories. These are what we're going to go over. So first is safe ingredients. So this guarantees that we have a consistent premium quality of our like glove and of our raw materials that are not harmful and don't have harmful toxins or we're going to talk about the other thing. So harmful toxins in the glove.
Yes. And the second is cleanliness. This ensures that there's no harmful microbial contamination. And we do test the inside and the outside of the gloves because when gloves are made, they're dipped in the nitrile, the former is dipped in the nitrile, and then they're actually taken off. Well, and then they're dipped in water and nitrile, water and nitrile, but then they're actually taken off the former and they're turned inside out. And then they're also washed and rinsed again. So it is important to test the inside and the outside of the gloves since the potentially contaminated water used during the process would be on both sides. If you just test the outside, you're missing part of what could be on the glove. So we do test the inside and the outside for fungal, there's a good word, and microbial contamination that could pose a threat to the person wearing the glove because it could touch and absorb through their skin, or the product being handled, as we talked about before, where it could transfer.
Yes. So thirdly, the gloves are tested for structural integrity. And this sort of has two sides to it. So the first being we test to make sure their performance is up to standard. So meaning strength and durability are A-okay, and where they need to be. And the second side of structural integrity is AQL. So that is the acceptable quality level. And that is the acceptable level of pinhole defects per box of gloves. So.
And contamination, let's say from my hand, let's say I don't wash my hands. And then, so I have contamination on my hands, I put on the gloves. If there is this pinhole defect in the glove, it is small. You might not see it visually. You could see it with a microscope, something like that, but it's plenty big enough for microbes, like on my hand, especially if my hand got sweaty, something like that, to get through these holes and onto the product. So it's really important to minimize the pinhole defects where it sounds really small and it's a pinhole and who cares. But when it comes to the microbial level and the things microscopic that we really can't see, it does matter. All of Eagle Protect gloves are, well, our nitrile gloves have an AQL of 1.5. And so that means that there is 1.5 pinhole defects per every 100 gloves. And that is actually a really stringent standard. Medical gloves are required to be a 2.5 or lower, but they have to be at least a 2.5. So all of ours we make sure is a 1.5. So we're even more stringent than what they would require a medical glove to be.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're pretty proud of. And it's just like, so you can trust the glove, and we just, quality and higher standards matter. And I feel like that's one way to know it. And the AQL we do put on the side of the box, we're proud of it. We want people to know what it is. A lot of times with food grade gloves, the AQL actually isn't listed anywhere. It's not required to be. But if it's not listed, that would give me pause of why is it not listed?
Right.
And maybe it's a high enough number where it's just not worth the potential food safety risks that are involved with it.
Yeah.
All right, and lastly is dermal compatibility. The gloves are tested for a wide range of chemicals and toxins that could result in dermal or systemic toxicity. Now, there's one that we want to avoid. And basically what this is skin irritation or occupational skin diseases, things like that. It's kind of, if you had to boil it down, it's people like, when I wear gloves, my hands break out. It's that rash, it's the breakout, it's the cracking, it's the things like that. A lot of times are cheaper chemicals used in gloves, or if the gloves aren't washed well enough during manufacturing, to get all of that off of there. So if some of that residue is still on there, a lot of times that's actually what people are reacting to. It's not the glove, because people will say the gloves, the nitrile makes me break out. But a lot of times it's the chemicals used during the making of gloves that people are reacting to.
Right.
So that is something that we test against, and basically we test to make sure that there's no pesticides, no toxins, things like that. And once again, it's important for the wearer not to be absorbing these things, but then also not to transfer onto the item or product being handled.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to sum up, essentially, that is our Delta Zero testing. And I want to mention also that what we do that I think is really helpful is we have a QR code on the side of our box that essentially you can see what testing is done and that, our gloves passed our testing and our standards. Yeah.
So you can scan that and it'll take you
to
a page.
It's really, that's great. It's a great peek into our traceability, but it's also we have gotten feedback that it is super convenient for quality and food safety professionals to have quick access to this information, because they need product certifications and whatnot and documents, and it's just a very easy way to get it quickly. So.
Yes, and it is important. And the scan that is on the side of the box is per lot. So you'll have the lot number, the dates it came in, the testing dates, things like that. So you'll have all of that for your records. I know record keeping is really important, especially when it comes to the food safety and quality assurance field.
Yeah.
So I think it is a way to make that helpful and easier, which is what we are trying to do. So when it comes to Delta Zero, we test a range of our gloves with this program, to verify that the gloves are to the highest levels of safety and performance. And that is meant to give companies confidence that when they receive Eagle gloves, they're receiving the exact same gloves. So we want the safety and we want the performance, but it's for consistency. There's a lot of times that companies, or anybody that has ever bought gloves, you're like, well, the last box worked, but this box sucks. And oh, this one rips all the time, but that one was good. And so even when you're getting the same brand, or even when you're getting the same thickness of glove, they don't all perform the same. And consistency is really a big thing, because if it's not consistent, you can't rely on it.
Right.
And we want to be trustworthy. So when it comes to the Delta Zero gloves, because we're checking all of these things, it's going to guarantee the consistency of our products. And it is a way to do that. So I think it's really good when it comes to just, you can stop thinking about gloves. It's like the glove works and you can move on to other things that actually matter. It's like you get the glove, I know it's going to work. It's always going to work. And then I can move on. So
you don't want to have to worry about your gloves.
That's why Delta Zero is great, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those where it removes the pain in the ass, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree.
The PETA remover.
Yeah. So now that everyone has sort of like a high level understanding of our Delta Zero program, our quality testing program, and what it tests for, whatnot, let's get into our gloves. Just toss questions in the chat. Also, I did put a link for the QR code traceability, sort of, if you want to learn more about that. But we will get into our gloves and we can give some more information on each one, and things like that.
Yeah. So as we go and expand, we're planning on expanding the gloves in our line that we're testing. So right now we test the 2.6 mil, which is our thinnest glove, which is the fine tough glove. So we test our 2.6 mil up to our Blue 52, which is the 5 mil. So it's the lower end of our, the thinner end of our range of gloves is what we're testing at the moment. We chose to start here because the thinner gloves are more likely to be used with ready to eat food. Let's say a salad that somebody's making, a sandwich, or fruit that's being cut up, things like that, where as soon as they make it, I could ingest it. And so since there's not a bunch of heat or a kill step in there that could kill off potential microbes that the glove would transfer onto the food and I would ingest, we started with these gloves to remove that risk, because we feel like that is the biggest risk that we could mitigate, if you will. So that's why we started with the lower range. But then as we are growing, we are expanding up the range. So we just added our 5 mil, and then hopefully next will be our 6 mil, and then we'll work our way up.
Yeah. And this is super important, like Sarah said, for ready to eat food. I mean, they don't have a kill step, like she said. So if there's contamination on your gloves, you have a risk of getting that onto, food and or people who are using it. So it's definitely a risk, and it's something that we want to mitigate. So,
all right, so let's dive into the glove. So first is the fine tap. So this is a 2.6 mil. This is the thinnest glove that we have. It comes in white and indigo, which is a nice color for all of those that had our 54 set of crayons, the indigo. All right, so these are Delta Zero verified. We put them on. They do have textured fingertips. I'm not sure if it's enough where you guys can see. They do have just a slight texture here on that part of the fingertips, and this helps with dexterity and grip. They're latex free, as is all of our natural gloves. There's no latex in natural gloves unless it's some kind of blend material.
Yeah.
They are PFAS free. None of our gloves have powder, so all of them are going to be powder free. So that's good for the wearer, not having to absorb these things as we wear them for 8 hours a day. And then they're obviously compliant for food handling. So that is good. They're also resistant to bacteria and fungus. Mine, the indigo, are made in halal and HACCP certified facilities. And the HACCP certifying is not the glove itself, it's the facility that it's made in. So this factory that these ones are made in are certified. It doesn't make them better than the white. They're just made in different factories. And the one factory hasn't been certified for it because it doesn't need to.
Yes.
They are packed 200 per box. So they're going to come in a box like this. There's 200 in here because they're thinner. We can put more in a box. And that means there's 2,000 in a case. It makes them more economical. It helps with the pricing. It helps with the shipping. But when you buy one case of it, you are getting 2,000 gloves, which is twice as much as I would say a standard case of gloves, where sometimes that does make a difference because you're getting more gloves and then just a heads up, the price is going to be a little bit higher for the case itself, but you're getting twice the amount of gloves. So it's actually cheaper per glove, but more expensive for case. So, I don't know, all the accountants can figure that out, but so there is a little economy with those though, where they are a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more environmentally friendly, and
less
cheaper
boxes to ship.
Cheaper. There's less material, so honestly, they're cheaper.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to mention any of our people who use these.
Oh, of course. So let me think. The Fine Tough have been around for a while. I would say the biggest one would be Costco uses these on the West Coast stores. If you go back to like their deli and the bakery, they're going to be using those there. There's a lot of people that use
it's a popular
the Fine Tough, honestly.
Yeah.
So it is one of those gloves where it weirdly works for a lot of things,
which is great. I mean, if you kind of need a catch-all glove, it's a good one. And the thing is that the Fine Tough is thin. So we do get people coming to us saying, oh, we usually use a higher mill and that's not going to work for us. But the good thing about Eagle gloves is that with a higher durability, with high quality glove, you can actually reduce your thickness of glove that you're using. And you maintain the same durability that you had with a thicker glove. And it takes people by surprise how durable these can be.
Yeah. We have a lot of people that are like, no, I need a 3 or a 4 mil. And it's like, just try the 2.6.
Yeah.
And if it works, it's fantastic. If not, we can go up to the next glove we're going to talk about. But it is one of those where the quality of ingredients really do make a difference. And I think that the Fine Tough is the easiest way to show that. You can have the large, they're big hands.
Thank you.
All right. So next we're going to get to the Derma 2, which is it's a nitrile exam glove. It's just a smidge thicker at 3 mils. Mil is the thickness. Okay. So we have the Derma 2 is in here. It's a really great glove. This one is, to be honest, my favorite glove. It feels a little bit soft. It's like, I don't know, it feels different than the other ones, and I don't know why, but it's nice.
It is a soft
It's
glove.
nice. It's comfortable. Okay, so it is Delta Zero verified. It is a medical grade glove. It also has the textured, so it has the textured fingertip. About the last inch there is going to be textured all the way around. So no matter which way I put the glove on, I'm going to have that little bit of texture that helps when I'm grabbing things. Especially if I have like little scissors or pipettes or little tiny things, it really helps with the dexterity and gripping. No latex, no PFAS. These also have no accelerators. And it's just because of the different recipe. Accelerators are added to nitrile to make them stretchy. And that is one of the ways to make them stretchy. This is just a different, actually patented recipe that don't use the accelerators. And accelerators are more common to irritate people's skin too. So that would be a benefit for these gloves. They are compliant for food handling. They are resistant to viral penetration. They are made in halal and HACCP certified facilities as well. They are 200 per box. So the same as the Fine Tough. This is the size of the box, and there's going to be 200 in here. So also 2,000 in a case, which helps with the economies, which helps with shipping. But when pricing, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. If it's a case of 1,000, this is a case of 2,000. They are tested. I think this one is super fun. They are tested against chemotherapy drugs. So they're actually rated for chemotherapy drugs, so the chemical resistance is high with these gloves because they can withstand that. And then also on top of that, we test them specifically for fentanyl and xylazine, which if anybody's up with the drug world, which I'll admit I'm not, they are
probably a good thing.
They are resistant to fentanyl and xylazine as well as gastric acid. So you can imagine that these gloves, the EMS prefer the blue, law enforcement and things like that prefer the black. but it is something that is really valuable to them to have that protection, because sometimes when you see a white substance, you don't know what it is. And just having that level of protection is great. Some gloves will have them be chemotherapy rated, so they just assume the fentanyl is in there because fentanyl is used for chemotherapy.
Yeah.
But we actually test our gloves specifically for the fentanyl and the xylazine. It's a 4-hour test, and after 4 hours of contact, there's no degradation, and the glove still performs. And the test is only 4 hours long, so we don't know longer than that, but we can guarantee the 4-hour protection. Well, as long as the glove isn't ripping, of course.
And as long, I mean, I would hope that that EMS is not in a situation where they're in direct contact with that for 4 hours on end. But you know.
There should be that should be an excessive amount of time. So if it at least lasts that time, you should
what you need it for.
Correct.
Yes.
And so if we were going to do the who uses this glove, I would say the biggest user of this is turning into our most popular glove. I would say that our thinner gloves, because they last, are really starting to turn into our more popular gloves, which is awesome because then they're more economical as well. But if you ever go to, let's say, the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which I know you like, or the Denver Zoo, if you get to like the concessions area and the food area, the SSA group actually uses the black gloves.
Yes.
So you're going to see these. We have a lot of people. This is a great glove for cannabis. We have a lot of people that use this glove because it withstands a lot.
It does.
It's a thin glove, but it can withstand a lot. Trimmers love these gloves because then they can feel what they're doing. And in the food world, they are also very, very useful.
Yes. And you had mentioned too that earlier that Derma 2 does not have accelerators in it. And we mentioned how that is helpful for people who may have sensitive skin or may react to certain ingredients in gloves. So
yes,
that is a great choice again for people who have sensitive skin. And we also have another glove. So that's our next glove, which is our sensitive.
That's true.
That are also made with this low derma technology. And it's, again, great choice for people with sensitive skin. And we say this because we do get this question a lot.
It is. We bring it up because it's one of those where it's actually a bigger problem than a lot of people realize, especially in the medical industry. But in food as well. If you're wearing a glove for 8 hours a day, I mean,
it's a long time.
It's a lot of time for your skin not to be breathing. And if you do have some chemicals in there, or if you do have some sensitive skin, it can really be a problem. And then if you have your skin broken out and then you have to continue wearing gloves, the situation is never going to heal itself unless you take time off of work and you don't wear gloves. And so this is horrible for a worker who can't work. And then it's also bad for the company having people take time off of work, not just to heal their hands. And this is where it is a bigger deal, I think, than some people realize. And that's why we say it. Yeah. But yes, this glove as well is also great for sensitive skin. I will also say all of our gloves are good for people with sensitive skins because of the quality of ingredients we use, and we make sure of the chemicals. So in general, people really do well with our gloves. Yeah, any of the gloves. For sure. But if you really, really, really feel like you have sensitive skin, we would focus you towards the Derma or the sensitives, but all of them are going to be a great option because we know how they're made.
And our testing.
All right, so the sensitives are a little bit thicker. They're a 4 mil glove. And so they are also made in a wrap in a halal certified facility. That word is so weird for me to say. Halal.
You know.
All right, so they're Delta Zero verified. Get my camera. They also have that little bit of fingertip grip at the top. Maybe you can see. I don't know if you can see that. So there is no latex. They are also accelerant free, which is why they're nice to people's skin. They're powder free, as of all of our gloves. They are compliant for food handling. They are also a medical grade glove, so which is more requirements and steps above food handling. They are chemotherapy drug tested, just the same as the Dermas were, and they are also tested specifically against xylazine and fentanyl and gastric acid. And that would be, gastric acid would be like if somebody was throwing up or if there was an overdose situation or something like that, where that's the gastric acid. Yeah. So again, great choices for EMS, people that are dealing with the more stressful situations than the rest of us. And let me see what else we have. They're resistant to chemical permeation, and they are also resistant to bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Yep. So a great glove. This is kind of our OG glove. It's been around just forever, and people that use it love it. It's a 4 mil glove, which is kind of your standard traditional thickness of glove in the industry. A fantastic choice. You don't want to overbuy a glove, so that's why we have the thinner options if they work. But if you are doing something that takes a little bit more stress and girth on it, then it is a good choice to go up a little bit. And a fun fact for who uses these is Nature's Bakery actually uses these. So, and they're right down the hill here in Carson,
Yep.
Carson City. They're pretty close to us. But they had problems with their gloves ripping because with the little fig bars that they're making, and it's not as fun to get a chunk of glove in your fig bar. So they changed to these, and they've been having great luck ever since. So
Yeah.
they're a great glove. They're strong stretch. They're good. And these ones are also, they're soft. It must be that low Derma recipe. They're
That's
a little
what
bit
I was going to
softer.
say, because they both have the Derma and the sensitives.
Yeah.
Now, we did get a question, do these gloves have strong stretch durability? And yes, they are,
Yes.
they are stretchy, and they will,
Yes.
they're less likely to break.
Correct.
All righty. Okay,
Ooh,
so
sorry.
just knock it all off.
Knock my computer.
So something very cool about our Delta Zero gloves is that they are all manufactured in a wrap facility, certified facility, which includes like internationally recognized social, ethical, and sustainable kind of like standards that are set for these facilities. And I will pop a blog link in the chat if you'd like to read about it. We think it's pretty cool. So
yeah, so we're
worth
pretty
reading.
proud of that. We like to do things, what we say, a little bit better as a company. We try to do things better. And part of this is finding partners that we can partner with that are also trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And part of that then is the no child labor. There's no forced labor, paying the employees, having good working conditions, things like that. And they are WRAP certified, which I feel like proves that they're doing things
Right.
well. But yeah, all the Delta Zero gloves are made in that, which is great.
So we have our.
Sorry, my fingers in there.
I swear, every time I got the sweaty hands. So every time
I don't know
do
if I
the-
said the sensitive glove is a medical grade glove though. I don't know if I said that. So we do have 2 medical grade
Yeah.
gloves, which is the Derma and the sensitives. The other ones we have the testing where they're good enough quality for it, but the difference between a medical and a food grade glove is on import. We have to import them a certain way, and that affects taxes. And then our customers have to be using like the majority for a different purpose and things like that.
Yeah.
And since we do source most of our gloves to food processing companies, most of our gloves we import as food gloves because that's what we're selling them as. And it's kind of the government regulations and how you import them and documents that you need. But when it comes to quality, they could pass those tests. It just depends on how we import them, if that makes sense. Where sometimes I feel like medical gloves sound better, and they can be better, but they just have the certifications to like prove they are this. But then there's other gloves that could fit the bill. They just aren't imported that way. It's a documentation thing with the FDA.
Right. And mind you, it's very different from like surgical gloves. Those are very different.
Yes, they are not sterile. Those are a completely different environment
different
when
thing.
they make it. They have to be packed in a sterile room. They have to be, so surgical gloves are a completely different animal. That level of sterile is nice when you're going to have the surgery, but it is different than what we're dealing with.
Yeah, you might not need sterile for your food, which would, I mean, it's a balance.
I would say this is the closest you can get without being sterile. So at least you know you're not transferring contamination.
Exactly.
All right, but last but not least, we have, the sensitive. So the last guy is 100 in a box. So it's a little bitty box. And so there's only 1,000 in a case. And so sometimes if 2,000 in a case is just too many for the quantity of gloves for how fast you're going to use them, or buying double the gloves in one shipment is just cost prohibitive. The sensitives do come 100 in a box, which is 1,000 in a case. And sometimes that does help then with a little bit of the money gap, where it may be a little bit thicker glove than you need, but the purchase price up front is going to be lower. So sometimes that does make a difference. I want to say that in there because everybody's got a budget to hit. We do too.
We understand.
All right, next we got our blue 52s. So this is one of our newer gloves. This one is going to have 100 gloves in the box and 1,000 in the case as well. It's a 5 mil glove. Obviously, the blue 52 is blue. It comes in blue. This glove is a great glove. It is a little bit thicker, but it's not where you feel like you're starting to stress and have to like fight the glove. It's still soft and durable and flexible.
Yeah.
The difference with this one, all the other gloves we showed you are 9 inches in length. This one is actually 9.5. So it's just a smidge longer. If that half an inch makes a difference, I guess, to you. But then they are fully textured for grip. So when we showed before, the texture was just on the fingertip here. This one has the texture in the full front and back of the glove. So no matter which way you put it on, you're going to have that grip. So they're intended for a little bit more intense use, a little bit harder tasks. Instead of maybe just moving things along a conveyor belt, I may actually be lifting things and doing things. And so there's a little bit more stress put on the glove. And that's why the 5 mil is good. And then that's where the texture goes to the entire glove instead of just the little fingertips.
Yep. Yeah.
They are latex free, PFAS free. And of course, there's no powder on them. They're Delta Zero verified. And they're compliant for food protection. These also have been tested and have the protection against fentanyl. So if it was something where in law enforcement or let's say the correctional facility, something like that, you need a little bit stronger glove. This one does have the fentanyl protection specifically tested for it for the 4 hours. And then it also is resistant to bacteria, fungi, and virus. So it has the chemical, a lot of resistance in there, strong, great glove.
It's a good one.
It is. And it's extremely durable. It's even used for like, Cargill uses this glove when they process meat. If you're a meat eater, sorry,
It's a good meat glove.
I'm not a vegan, so I'm not scared to talk about that one. But in the meat processing, Cargill uses it, and if anybody knows about the meat processing industry, it is quite demanding, and so this glove does withstand it, and it is they've been having good success with it.
In my personal opinion, and I know this does not matter a lot, but I love the color of this glove. This is my favorite color of all of our gloves. Really?
I like the black.
The indigo?
Okay, I'm a black person, obviously, but otherwise I would. I think I like the Derma. Like it's
really, I love the bright.
It's like
of this one.
It's pretty. I don't know.
See. I mean, different things for different people, but I think this is our prettiest glove, and I know that doesn't matter most of the time. But if you're picking a glove and you're like, "What's the prettiest?" According to Ashley, it's this one. So,
which is what
just
matters.
Know that exactly. Everyone should care. So, we do get asked about our website listing our gloves as compliant with USDA organic regulations. Okay.
Yes.
So, important thing to know is that our gloves themselves are not organic. They are not food, so they can't be organic.
Do not eat the gloves.
Yes. So these aren't to eat. But as a result of our Delta Zero testing, we can guarantee that nothing will transfer from our gloves onto your organic food that would jeopardize your certification of being organic. So that's actually something that I'm going to pop in a case study here because
it's happened before.
Which is
cool.
Great. Yeah. So it was actually a cannabis grower up in Washington. And this actually happened to them where they had contamination from their gloves. They did a bunch of testing and they found that it was glove contamination, which is such a bummer because you're supposed to be able to trust them. And they were, they had to recall and all these things. So
they did everything right. And then they were flagged. Their product was flagged for a fungicide that they don't use on their products. And so they were trying to figure out where this fungicide came from, tested everything, finally tested the gloves. Inside the glove box was this fungicide. So it had transferred to their product. And when they got their product tested, then they got flagged.
Yeah.
And which is not cool. So they use our gloves now to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. They use our Fine Tough.
But there's just that risk there. That's where we don't want you to wait until things do happen. It's like, this is a way to reduce risk before things happen. I mean, save that money. That is not worth a $10,000 recall.
No. And, yeah, exactly what Sarah said. It's just not worth it. So that does sum up our Delta Zero glove range. And we do like to wrap things up with questions. So again, if anyone has questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them. We do have some questions that were submitted to us ahead of time on social. So let's get started. The first one that I think is on a lot of people's minds, but this is a good one, is the tariffs are making vinyl gloves imported from China quite expensive. Are there good alternatives to use instead of vinyl?
Well, I would say tariffs aside, hard yes.
Yeah.
We do not promote using vinyl for a lot to do with chemical reasons. There's the chemicals in the gloves, how they make the gloves, the chemicals from the factories, that kind of a thing is just not good with the phthalates and the PFAS and all the P's.
Yeah.
But then there's also, when it comes to the microbial or the contamination side of it, they're made with a hard, rigid material. Things are added to it to make it softer where you can make it into a glove, but it's a PVC pipe basically that they're making into a glove.
Which is insane.
Right? I mean, kudos to science, but
no, totally. But when we put it in those terms, it always like blows my mind.
Yeah. But if you look at the microscopic level, so it's still kind of shards of that hard PVC.
Yeah.
And then so when I start bending my hands and using the gloves, those shards kind of rub and they cut each other and actually holes form. You can't see them because it's super, super small. But microbes can get through those. And it's just a contamination thing. And we know everybody's hands, especially some more than others, get a little dewy inside there. And then I don't want that in my food.
No.
So it's just one of those, for many, many reasons, vinyl gloves should not be used. So back to the tariffs question. Okay, the tariffs are hard because they're changing. We think we know what's coming, but then it's coming with a caveat of unless things change. So at the time, Chinese gloves, the imports from China are very expensive. I think it's 125% right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's 10% on all of the gloves from anywhere in the world that are coming with potential for more. China took it hard right away, so those are already higher.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of vinyl does come from China. That's where a lot of the vinyl gloves are made. So people are starting to look for other things. So I think this is a great question. Sorry, that was a long way to say yes, there are other options. And what we recommend is a vinyl glove is a thinner glove that shouldn't be used for long periods of time anyway, even if you were using the glove, which we don't think you should be. But what we would recommend is if you're touching food or your product for maybe 5 minutes or less, a couple minutes, things like that. Let's say you're making me a sandwich and then you have to take it off because you're going to be on the cash register touching cash, things like that. We have polyethylene gloves. We have a stretch polyethylene. That's a great substitution in these situations because you don't want to be using a nitrile glove and throwing it away every minute. You're just going to go through too many. So the cheaper polyethylene gloves are a great substitution for this. And honestly, you might even save a little money on it. The other thing is if you're wearing the vinyl gloves for longer than that, let's say you're touching your product for longer than a couple minutes, then I would recommend going to a nitrile glove. And I would start with our Fine Tough because it's the 2.6. It's the thinnest one. It's going to be the cheapest one. And you're obviously not doing anything that's super intense because a vinyl glove would fall apart if you were. So I would start with those two. And hopefully once you go to the other gloves, you kind of see that they are a better glove too. And it's something that if something good can come out of these tariffs, it's hopefully that we can get rid of vinyl gloves.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
We said it. Okay. So
maybe we can stop that from being a thing.
Yeah. That was a great question. I think it's good to look for alternatives to vinyl. Like you said, tariffs aside. So
and people are super sensitive, I know, to the cost and everything right now. So that's a good question.
Yeah. Okay. So we have, what are the signs that a glove is no longer safe to use?
Well, from this, I'm going to have to talk with Eagle gloves because I'm not exactly sure what other company standards are and things like that. But for us, we say a glove is good up to 5 years from the date of manufacture. It probably would perform honestly after that, but that's where we have to set a time. But it also depends on where you're storing it.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to store it in a cool, dry location. You don't want it to be in something like a warehouse that's super hot, or you don't want it to be in direct sunlight and just so super hot and super cold can affect the material. It can degrade the material a little bit. So you want to store it right. But then for the Eagle gloves, you want to use them within 5 years of the date of they were manufactured, which is on the box.
Yeah. And then our last question is, can I just wash my hands or do I need gloves? This is a great question. And the answer fully depends on the context with which you're either using gloves, not using gloves, things like that. But if you're handling food, especially if it's in a commercial setting, you need both. So you're going to obviously follow what your employer requires in terms of glove use. But if you're not washing your hands before and after using gloves, the gloves are not as effective at all.
Yeah, they should be. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah,
they go together. So yes, hand washing is definitely an important thing to put it on before. And it is, remember that our hands can get juicy inside gloves.
Yeah.
And if the glove would break, we don't want that all over. So it's just from the food safety side. And then I would say if you're doing something maybe like a mechanic,
right,
it doesn't matter as much before you put on, but then of course after you take them off, you probably want to, just in case you got oil or something.
It's like always good to be cleanly. Yeah. We're going to promote that for sure. But at home, gloves might not be used as much, like say you're chopping veggies or something, like you've washed your veggies, you're chopping your veggies. But I know that there are a lot of at-home cooks that use, and choose to wear gloves when handling like raw meat to prevent sort of contamination of the kitchen and things like that. So there's different ways, but hand washing is always a yes from us. Okay, we got a great question. What is a good way to check how strong a glove is when putting on the Derma 2 gloves? Okay, I can try to pull up our little video on this and send it in the chat, but Sarah might be able to describe this.
Yeah, she'll have a link to it. Yes, it's not specific to the Derma 2. I know you probably like the Derma 2, but because it is the best glove.
Yeah.
Of course.
We agree.
The best. But when you put on any glove, when you put it on, the one place that gloves seem to break is right here at the cuff. It's like one of those. It's so when you talk to somebody and they're like, "Oh, my gloves keep ripping."
Yeah.
It's like when you put on your glove, are you holding the cuff in your hand? And a lot of times that is where it is. I honestly don't know why. I think it's just because that's the biggest part of stress when you put on the glove. So that is the most common break point of a glove, in my opinion. I'm going to say I'm not using them every single day to be a super expert there, but in my experience, that's where I hear people have a break. So when you put it on, I would pull it. You should be able to pull on the glove, and it lasts and it doesn't pop, break. You shouldn't have it in the other hand. The other place that gloves commonly rip is in the palm. So, and this is because when I'm holding things, let's say I'm holding a knife or a machine, and if there's any torque, anything like that, it's a lot of stress here across the palm. So that is another place where if you pull, that would be a test of durability. And then the last place I would say to test would be on the fingertips. Fingertips are the other ones where, because you're doing things. And so that's where it could catch on things. It could snag on things. Little fingertip tops can pop off. And sometimes that's what happens when it goes into food. And that's when you have the withdrawals and the recalls and things like that. Yeah. So you also want to test the fingertips just to make sure that they aren't popping off right away. It's not 100%, but it gives you a little bit of an idea where you should be able to pull the glove and have it have resistance without breaking. Of course, they're not indestructible. You can't, I don't know, stab it with a knife and have it work, but you should be able to have it.
Maybe don't do that.
You should be able to have it withstand a little bit.
But I mean, we have done in the past, we have taken a screwdriver, put it on the inside and really pulled that out. And it does take a little bit to
see if I can put so it's like scary.
Yeah. Perfect. Hit Ashley in the face.
Yeah, right. So have it. I mean, okay, so they're not indestructible, but I mean, it takes a little bit of pulling to get them to break, which is, I would say, I know this is our gloves. So this is a high quality glove where it withstands a little bit. I don't think there's a lot of gloves out there that could probably do that. Yeah. And that's where if you test it, pull on it, that kind of a thing. That's where having it around the house, I love the Dermas. And if I'm doing yard work outside, I love the Visibles.
Yeah, but remember what I said, everyone. Okay.
If you want to have pretty gloves, so the Visibles come in the bright colors.
It's all good. But okay, so then to tack on, I will have a link here as well, which you wouldn't need to do with our Dermas because we do have our Delta Zero testing, but we have a easy test to see if disposable glove raw materials are of higher quality. So that could be helpful if you're using a glove that is not one of ours. And you want to, I mean, you can always test ours too if you want, and see what the quality looks like.
I was going to say ours isn't going to see me in it. If you look, ours are super smooth and there's no swirlies and things like that. So if you blow up the glove, and sometimes there's little white swirl lines and they don't look totally uniform in color.
Longer. And
what that can be is sometimes factories will add things like chalk or things like that to make gloves cheaper. But when you blow it up like that, you can kind of see the different materials that are in there. So that I would say is probably not as pure of a nitrile glove. Yeah. But awesome. Somebody said that it was a good glove and they were thinking about talking about ordering. Yeah. We have on our website, you can go under products and it'll say how to order and it lists our distributors that we have there. So depending on where you are for location and what you're using the gloves for, we do work with great partners where you can order all of our gloves from them. Most of them have basically the full range of our gloves. If you order from us, we work directly with customers. Of course, we work with our customers. We work with companies. So we ship by the pallet is how our distribution system is set up. So from us, it can be a mix of products. It can be clothing. It can be gloves, sizes. Everything can change. But we have 45 cases at a time. So we can put it on a pallet and ship it in semis. But if you want to order smaller quantities than that, we have great distributors that can get you whatever you need.
Yeah. And I just sent the link in the chat for our how to order page where you can find all of our distributors. If you are looking to get a pallet, You can talk to us as
Yeah,
well.
call us.
You know, we have our contact in there as well. So just let us know what you need and we're here to help.
Yeah. And if you're a distributor that's interested in working with us, also call us.
Yep. We are so fun, can't you tell? We're just great.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining us. Again, this is the Glove Lab live stream series that we have going on, and it's once a month. So next is on Wednesday, June 4th.
June, started June.
I know. And we'll be covering vinyl gloves. Not ours, obviously we don't have vinyl gloves, but we'll be covering the topic.
Right. That's when
Of them.
Smack Talk starts.
Yes, sorry. We will be.
No, we're going to bring some science and we're going to actually explain why vinyl gloves, how they perform, what they do, what's actually happening. And then that will kind of maybe help understand the reasoning of why we don't recommend people using them.
Yeah. So let us know if there's any disposable glove topics that you would like to hear from us. We're happy to, add that in as a topic for one of these live streams or even just talk about in general. So thank you again, everyone.
Yes.
And we will see you hopefully next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Happy May.